Hi guys, Joel Ingram here again. Uh, I'm gonna tell you guys about the time my testimony about meeting Jesus. Um, I was 20 years old, man. Uh, going through high school, man. I got involved with drugs, witchcraft, man. I left the faith. Um, was going through a whole bunch of night terrors all the time. From about the time about the time I seen the first UFO back whenever I was like 14. Me and my uncle and my cousin were hanging out outside at my grandpa's house. It was dark. There was low-lying clouds, man. All of a sudden we seen all these lights above us in a circle. A huge pattern, man. And that's about whenever my night terrors started. So after that, years later, back whenever I was 19, man, I come to a point to where I was depressed all the time, man. It was due to the drugs. I felt like there was just nothing here for me, man. And, you know, all of a sudden I started seeing this weird sign. Like everywhere I turn, I'd see the sign fast. And one night I was talking to my dad and I said, man, because my dad was always reading the Bible. I mean, he would preach in jails back whenever he was at the time my age. He'd got, set free from everything back whenever he was like 22. But for me, man, it's like Jesus was calling me to him, and I didn't even know it was Jesus calling me. Back when I was a little kid, I gave my life to Jesus, but I fell away from him, like most of us do through our high school years. And coming out of high school, man, I felt this depression inside me, man. Like I just didn't want to live anymore. And for a week, I kept seeing the sign. It was fast. Everywhere I'd like turn my head, I'd see the word fast, F-A-S-T, fast, fast, fast. I mean, everywhere I looked, if it was on TV, you'd hear the word. I'd look at a billboard and it would say fast. So, and it would always catch my eye. And so finally I asked my dad, I said, hey man, what is this fasting stuff about? And he said, that's where you lay down your life before God or Jesus until he answers. And that's all I knew of fasting, man. I didn't read the Bible. I mean, I had read it here and there, but I didn't understand it, fell away from it, all that. And so as I was working at the place I was working at, which was a restaurant at the time, it was a fast food joint, almost fast food. It was Hero Subs and Burgers. It was off of one of the main roads, 61st and Mingo, way back in the day, which was an excellent restaurant, man. I mean, excellent subs, by far excellent. So I was like, okay, man. I found a Bible. I ain't gonna tell you where I found it, but I actually stole it. And so I started, I said, okay, man, Jesus, if you're real, man, then either I'm going to die of starvation or you're going to answer, man. Well, I started at the beginning of the book that night, and I'd read for about an hour and then fall asleep. And that was the first night, and I had a weird dream. I understand what the dream meant. Basically, in the dream, I was like in this bar area underneath, like inside the earth, and and I didn't realize who the person was that was sitting in this chair until the fourth night. Well, in the dream, it was about the lust of the flesh, pride of life, all that stuff, man. And to me, it just didn't satisfy, man. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something else, man. So get up the next day, go to work, come home, because I was working a split shift, and I'd read a little bit more of the Bible, go do my chores or whatever I had to get done, then go back to work. That night, I'd come home. I read for about another hour of the Bible, and I would just start I was starting to confess, you know, for Jesus to forgive me of my sins, man. And I went into another dream. Well, in the second dream, there was a certain person that an ex-girlfriend of mine that I was in love with. But in the dream, these three angels, which they appeared as men, but they were way taller than me. And they said, she's not for you, man. And right then, because of the gravity of my situation back then, it set me free from, the worry about, what was going on. So it set me free from that. Well, the third day, I go to work, I come home, I do my chores, go back to work, come back home after work, was laying in bed, started just praying, then started reading the Bible again. I'd read the Bible for another hour to almost 2 hours, and then fall asleep. Well, the third night, I had a dream, and in the dream I was standing at my old, what was that called? Intermediate high school, which was 9th and 10th grade. And I'm standing in the courtyard, and all these people are walking around me. Well, that's in my intermediate years. That's whenever I got really heavy into, drug use and just falling away from Christ, kind of like leaving the faith. But you're not actually, he never lets you go, man. Jesus never lets you go. So even if you're a kid, man, he is still with you. Even though you fall away because of the way this world is, he is still with you. So after that, I noticed that in the courtyard, there's this old man, which he was disguised as an old man, and he was taking a push broom, and he was like cleaning out the courtyard, basically cleaning out, everything that I had put myself through during intermediate high. There was another couple scenes in that, which I ain't really going to get into because it's not really relevant to what I'm going to tell you. But as I woke up, I went to work, came home, did my chores, went back to work. Then later on that night, and at this point, man, I'm starving, man. Working in a Heroes Subs and Burgers where they make fresh cookies, they make fresh bread. You're cutting up the meat for the gyros, all that stuff, man. It's just like you get this overwhelming hunger, man. But I was so dead set on what I was praying, man, that I was seeking after him to see if he was real. And if he was real, then he would answer my prayers. Well, at this point, I am so hungry that it hurts. And it hurt at this point. So I come home and I immediately start reading the Bible. And this time I break down in tears, man. And I'm just crying for forgiveness of my sins. Well, as I'm getting tired, I basically just laid down on my back in bed, shut off the light. I closed my eyes. Then as soon as I closed my eyes, man, I heard a voice standing to the left of me. And I thought it was in my bedroom. And he said, "Open your eyes." So I opened my eyes, man, and there's this great white light just shining all around me. I still thought I was in my bedroom. I thought somebody was standing next to my bed. Well, as my eyes start to focus on where I'm at, I see this tall guy. I think he was an angel. He had blonde hair, this robe on, man. He had like a gold sash around his waist. And we were just standing there, and I was looking at him like, where in the world am I at? That is all I could think was, where in the world am I at? And as stuff started coming into focus, man, I started seeing like families, like a mom and a dad and their child walking with them. And there was people all over the place, man. And I turned and I looked to the right, and I could see this great glowing white light, man. It was just perfect light, and it was cutting through my entire being, man. But to say I was like a leaf collecting the sun's rays to live is what I felt like, man. And this light would just pass through me, man, and it had so much love to it, man. Like a love I have never felt before in my whole life. I mean, it was cutting through every fiber of my being, and it was just filling me with just life. And I mean, life in a, like life. Like, I mean, I felt so good. It was unreal. And this light was just like so inviting and just so loving that it was, I've never experienced anything like that on planet Earth, man. I mean, we can go outside and we can feel the sun's rays like beating on us, and it warms us up and makes us feel kind of good. But this light would cut through your entire being. And as everything is coming into focus, man, I see this guy, and well, at the center of this place, I see this white light, and then there's this like wall with a gate. And as I know now, that I was standing in the courtyard of the Gentiles, where the Gentiles are. And this white light was the throne of heaven. And the white light itself was God the Father. Well, I see this man, he's dressed up in this robe, and it was like just decked out, man. I mean, it looked like a king's robe. And this guy, he's coming up to me, and as he's coming up to me, he's asking people, how's it going? How are you doing? I mean, he's just so, man, he was just so gracious in the way he was. He was just awesome, man. As he's walking up to me, I didn't know who he was until like right before this vision. I don't think it was a dream. But anyways, he's walking up to me, and he comes up to me and he goes, man. Now at the time, I'm 42 years old now. At the time, I was about 20 years old. He goes, man, what are you doing here? And the first words out of my mouth, and I don't even know to this day why I said them, but I said, I'm here for Jesus to forgive me of my sins. And whenever he said, man, what are you doing here? And I answered him that, he just kind of smiles. He looks up to the angel that's standing next to me, and the angel kind of looks down and looks at him and smiles. And to me, it was like they were saying, like the angel was saying, I don't know what to do with him. And it was just kind of comical the way it all panned out. It was, to me, it's funny. But he turns, he looks at me, and he goes, well, all you got to do is ask. And right then I was like, well, yeah, I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's what the Bible says, man, is that, all I got to do is ask for, Jesus to forgive me of my sins. And he's quick to forgive. And mind you, I mean, I was doing drugs. I was, just doing everything, man, everything that the world had to offer. And he just kind of turns and, he says, all you got to do is ask. And I was just kind of like dumbfounded in myself, to where it was almost like, why didn't I just believe what the Bible said? But to me, I wanted to know, and, so he goes, well, here, you're going to have to eat something, or you will die. So with his right hand, he pushes his right hand towards me, and this piece of bread, like a loaf of bread, manifests, and I eat it in like 3 bites, man. I mean, I chew it up. It tastes better than any bread on earth, man. I mean, it tasted pure, and I could feel it going into my stomach, and it was just filling me with life. And So I'm still looking around the place at this point, and this man that's standing before me, he kind of had dark hair. He looked like an Israelite or Jew. Olive complected skin. He had a nice beard going on, man, like a kingly looking beard. He had kind of long hair, but he had this robe on. And I'm sitting there, just staring at him. And I mean, we could have said some more stuff. I think I might have. It's hard for me to remember now. But as I'm standing there, I'm looking around, and it dawns on me. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at him, and I say, man, this is heaven. And right as I said, this is heaven, he smiles, and I blink, and boom, I'm waking up in my bed. After that, my life changed forever, man. Hands down, Jesus is real. As I searched further and further in the Bible, it actually, the Bible actually instructs you on how to, pray and fast. Like in Matthew, it teaches us how to pray and fast. You know, do it in secret so that your Father in heaven can, see you in secret and reward you openly. Well, then in the book of Hebrews, it says, seek him diligently and he will show up. So it's like, man, I didn't even know that the Bible said any of that stuff until later on whenever I was reading the Bible. And that is how I met Jesus. Now, I've had other experiences to where Jesus has like I was being tormented by some demons back in 2008. I want to say it was 2009, and I couldn't go to sleep. I mean, I could work all day long, work a 12-hour shift, mowing lawns, come home, be just worn out, tired. Worn out, tired, lay down in bed, be wide awake. And it was like that for about 4 or 5 months. And finally one night I said, Jesus, please make it stop, man. Well, all of a sudden I heard Jesus's voice shout out from inside my chest. And he told the devil to leave me alone, because I had fallen away back in 2006 after my dad, my granddad, my ex, my father, my grandfather died. My ex, me and her, I split up with her, and I was pushed into just a depression, man. But didn't realize that a demon had attached itself to me back then, until after, Jesus had to tell it to, get off of him. Well, right then, I fell asleep. That's another story. Heard his voice a couple different times after that as well. But that is, for the most part, that is how I met Jesus, man. Like whenever I was in heaven and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I mean, it was so weird because I'd never seen a place like that on earth. And there was just everybody was just happy. It was like, that's where I want to be, man. But whenever I realized where I was at, he just smiled and boom, I was back in my body. Well, after that changed my life forever, man. I mean, hands down, Jesus is real. Seek him out, seek him to find him, seek him wholeheartedly, seek him with all your heart, and he will show up. Best thing to do is to just praise him, man. Before you go to bed, dedicate, some time to just playing some worship music and stand before him and sing before him, because King David danced with all of his might before him. I mean, King David was a man after God's own heart, man. So let's be like him and let's seek after God's own heart. Excuse me, guys, my allergies. But yeah, that's how I met Jesus. I got a lot more stories to tell you guys about, and yes, I've seen it all, man. Demons, angels, the angel craft that they use. I've even seen a Bigfoot, man, and I I didn't believe in him up until I was 41 years old. And well, no, actually, it was after I turned 42, and he was on the side of the road, and I passed him, and it was just one of those things where it's like, dude, was that real? But yeah, it's, God will give you an amazing journey. Just live it, man. You never know what's getting ready to happen the next day. And if you're a teenager and you're going through thoughts of suicide or something like that, do not suicide yourself, or do not unalive yourself. There is hope. There's hope. There are people out there that love you, that have nothing but the best for you, man. And even God has the best for you, man. I mean, dude, just keep living, dude. You never know what God will show you, man. Like, if you read the Bible, some of these prophets, whenever they're saying there's more of us than there are of them, and your eyes are opened and you see it, and it's like, oh my gosh, man, I never thought this would ever be real. I never thought I'd ever get to see something like this ever in my life. And boom, you get to see it. Just because these other people don't see it doesn't mean that it ain't real. It just means that they haven't got to see it. But yeah, hopefully this will inspire somebody. You know, I've been put through a lot, but I know for a fact that Jesus Christ is real. If you seek him out, you will find him, man. He is legit. He is not kidding around. The Father is not joking. They are real, man. You were really created by these people, and you will know. Excuse me, but you will know whenever it happens to you, and you will know, man, and you will just be utterly amazed by it. I mean, to me, it is just an overwhelming love inside me, man. Every time I get to, tell people about or share my testimony about how I met Jesus, he is worthy of all of our praise, man. He's worthy. He's beyond worthy, man. I mean, oh man, I wish heaven was here on earth right now. You guys would just, oh man, it'd be totally different world. But yeah, that's it on how I met Jesus. I'll make some more videos on some of the other cool stuff that I've got to experience with, the angels, seeing some of the stuff, hearing Jesus's voice a couple extra times after that. Jesus is he's there, man. He's walking with you through this journey. Well, and like I say before, man, if my testimony can just reach one person for the kingdom of heaven, then everything that I've ever been through is well worth everything, man. Because Jesus said, I leave the 99 for that one. So hopefully you guys like my story. I'm not a very good storyteller. Don't really like cameras, but this is my testimony, and hopefully it can reach somebody. Well, all right, I'm gonna get off here. I love you. Jesus loves you, man. Keep searching. Keep doing the will of God, will of our Father, and just live in peace. Bye.